YouTube, yes. And we are live there on the LinkedIn. There's poor connection and hopefully it's better now. Yes. Cool. Yes. Is it okay, the sound? Ah. So now it should be good. That's just nice, dude. Cool. And I guess we are live, right? On the LinkedIn one. Podcast studio. And stream. Cool. Yes, but let's get started on LinkedIn also. Go live. Cool. So yes, thanks for joining. So one of the things that I often get to talk about is how do we create documentation for, or how do we create a good process to manage and transport SAP CPI governance. Hopefully I can hear myself. Does it sound okay? Or do you looking for your phone? Okay. So yes, I hope you can hear me. I do. Sound perfect. Yes. Cool. So one of the challenges that I often found is it's really difficult to do DevOps in a SAP PI PO world. If you want to do it right, you as a developer, thank you, Wojciech. Glad I had just turned down the volume on my computer, which is a bit embarrassing, I guess. Anyway, the cool thing is, yeah, normally in the PI world, you would go in and you would say, as a developer, you'd say, I have finished this one. This design request, you will document it and then you'll send it for someone to do a QA. You will write all the details about how to transport, how to govern this, and this can be a little challenging. But let me show you how this can be a lot simpler if you had the Figaf tool in place. So here we have the Figaf tool. It has a lot of functionality and we will not cover everything in this, but just the DevOps part for CPI or for PI. We also have the same for cloud integration and API management. That we will leave for a different video and a different topic. But for now, we want to transport an iFlow. And here, one of the things we have is we have synchronized the artifact to the Figaf tool. That means we have versioning of these things. That means we can go in and see who had made changes to the object and what was the reason for this change. And this really gives us a lot of opportunities. So let me say I got this one iFlow that I want to transport, and I can assign it to a ticket. I can go in and say demo live LinkedIn live PI transport. We will specify the landscape that we want, and we can transport it in different landscapes. So if you have multiple productive system, you can set these scenarios up so they will be transported correctly. We can add a Jira ID or whatever ServiceNow ID that this relates to. So now we have our ticket. We can go in and we can attach all the dependent tickets, all the dependent objects. That means if we go from ICO, it will be communication channels, systems, and also directory objects. Next is we'll go and add test cases for this. We have a test case here, and obviously we want to test all the artifacts, but to make it a bit faster, we'll just take one of them and we'll run it on our development system, these tests, and we will see the impact of it. So this will then send the messages through this easily, and we can go and we can check the result here. So view result, we will pull messages. now we have result, we can see that it is producing the correct response that we expected to do. So that's pretty good. So as a developer, I can actually test that my things is okay. If I know what change I've made, I can go in and make an update saying, hey, this is the right thing. And obviously, if your questions along the way, just put them into the chat. It's good to know that it is working. So now I go to create the transport of this artifact. And here in my transport, I've now created two transport. One is for the directory objects or repository objects. Here we can see we got the operation mappings, we got all of these artifacts, and we can go in, we can check some of these artifacts up, see what is being changed between these two versions. So sometimes it can be a good scenario. It is possible to do a trial. Just go to figaf.com/devops and sign up for the on-premise version. Then you can sign up connected to your systems, and yeah, you just need a normal user on the system with API access. Then that should be possible to get started. And there's also a trial for cloud or for migration, all these capabilities. Okay, as a developer, I'll send this to approval. And to simplify the demo, I can also approve items, and we'll just approve it. If I reject it, it will be routed back to the developer, and he can then make modifications to it. And then we have the directory, and I think the directory is obviously a lot more interesting. So we do have here the receiver component, and we have an option to rename artifacts when we are transporting this. So let's do this for 88. We can see different description if we want to inherit from source or from target system. And with this renaming, you can actually handle all the renaming. You have business systems components with this. And then let's also check the communication channel. Here we can create a communication channel. Let's call it 88 on this communication system. We can go in and specify different artifacts. It is really easy to check what are some of the non-transportable objects that we have in this scenario, so we can easily rename these things. And we can do it either by pressing a fixed value here, or we can also, if we have host names like the SAP host names on the landscape item, we can go in and we can configure these things. And yeah, if you have comments along the way, just put them into the chat and I will try to cover those things. But the idea is here, as a developer, I'll go through and try to configure everything that I know of, so I don't have to do that afterwards. And I'll press save. Now I can go and I can check all the things that is happening when I need to approve this transport. And this makes it really simple to actually see what is going on in the landscape. Oh, that's the wrong view. That's the right view here. And I need to remove this one thingy. So here we can see what is being changed here. We can export it as CSV. So we have a routing change where we are deleting this one and adding this one. Interface changes and outbound processing where we are changing the icon this way. So we have really a good understanding of what impact this change will have on our landscape. We can also do a parameter report, and this is really useful if you want to check what the scenario that you have, what is the impact on this. And here we can just add filters. We can go in and we can enhance these, so we can see what are the source value, the target value, so receiver, this receiver. We can go and check are there any passwords, no passwords in this one. All the non-transportable, we can do a check on these items to make sure that they're current and everything is correct when we're checking these things. This is really valuable if you have a large transport with a lot of parameters and scenarios that you want to migrate. For instance, yeah, migration scenarios where you just want to migrate a bulk migration, then you can just go through here and check, Are there any of the URLs, host names that we forgot to replace? And then go into the landscape setting and say, okay, replace this landscape with this landscape. And that makes the process even more simple. Now I can send it to approval, and as a developer or an architect I can prove it. Obviously we also have support, so you are not allowed to approve your own transport. I think that is really an important part of this, that you do not approve your own thing. So now I can import these things. I will not import the repository because there's nothing really happening there, and we can see what is going on here. It is processing everything, and now we can see everything has been logged into the system. We can create the next system in our landscape to move it into the productive system, but that is yeah, it's the same process that you just want to repeat once you have done all the test and validation that this works. And you can have different persons approving the different transport. So your architect can approve transport from dev to QA to make sure that you have all the things correct, and then a business analyst can approve the different one. Yes, as default, you need to have two persons if you have approvers. So normally I'm not allowed to approve my own transport, but I would just have a setting to make demos easier, because yeah, you don't really want that to be or to allow customers or developers to approve it, and it's easy to switch on. I think as default it is not added there, but just to make demos easier. And I guess you want to be the SOX compliant, therefore we have that setting. If I do want to do some review on what has happened, I can go into my test system here, and I can see what was changed, and this was this ICO here, 10th, yes. So we can see here the versioning of this, so we can see we have some version differences here, and this will allow us to easily see what is going on here. We changed some business systems here between one version and another, and obviously sometimes these becomes more complicated, and that was why we had this other comparison option previously. Yeah. The other thing I can see here is that I got a ticket here that I can see that this was done because of this reason. So we have, whenever we're looking at our productive system or test system, we can always go back and say, okay, you created this ticket for these things, and we would also have dependent tickets if you're transported from dev to queue. You'd be able to see all of these links and actually be able to go back and say, okay, hey, Daniel, you created these things. Why did you do that? And I think that is somewhat an important point, that you want to be able to know who made which changes and why. It is pretty easy to get started with the tool. It is just to go to figaf.com and sign up for the free trial. Sign up for the on-premise one, then you will get access to download a jar file. Once you run that, you enter a license that you'll get an email, and then you can go to the agents, and here you just create a new agent for your PI system with the user, and then you can connect. One of the cool things is obviously also we do have the migration capabilities, and if you set that up, you can also generate this report that will show you a lot more details about the system landscape and what are the active interfaces that's going on in it. And I think we probably need to zoom in here to see that. We created it for migration, but I think as if you want to understand what you want to see, then this really makes sense. So this DevOps service it's not a part of the SAP tool. It's the Figaf tool that I'm showing you here. It's the same one that we're using to do migrations and do DevOps in cloud integration, all these things. Our main focus when we've built this has been to make it easy for developers, and I think that's an important thing, because as integration developer, I'm not the best Java or anything else developer. One of my forces and the best thing I'm good at is to connect system. It is not to set up all of these different scenarios and settings. And this really just simplifies that and say, okay, here's what you need to do. Do not think too much on it. You need to think still when you're creating some of the different settings. But we try to make it as easy for developers to get started and be able to run these processes in a smooth way. Let's see if any other questions here. Cool, thanks. Yes. Yeah, this was just a little short info on what we're doing. Hope you liked it. If you have more questions, just ping me. And we can cover how this can help you on your current project. Great, Luis, great. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, and see you next time.